It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. So I'm looking at this headline here.
Mm-hmm.
Mexican cartels targeting Border Patrol agents with kamikaze drones, explosives amid Trump crackdown. That's the lead headline at Fox News. An internal memo, a memo titled Officer Safety Alert, cited social media posts and other sources for the warning to federal agents. The New York Post reported agents were reminded to be aware of their surroundings and should be wearing their ballistic armor and utilizing their long firearms. What happens if a Border Patrol agent gets killed by the cartel, or a number of them get killed by the cartel targeting them?
I mean, all hell will break loose. There's, I don't know. Remember when Iran was during the Trump first term, going offshore, and they were targeting freighters, and their methods would be that they wouldn't actually cause any deaths, but they would damage equipment. They lobbed some missiles over into Iraq where American contractors were working. And then the play was, word got out, the play was they want to do damage. They don't want to kill anybody because they understand if they did, it's all out war. Well, in the case of the cartels, I wonder if the same applies here. Because under Biden, I don't think they feared Biden. I think they saw Biden as an ally. But I think with Trump, and especially right now with everything that's in motion in recent days, you've got a death wish if you think you can kill agents and get away with it.
Well, and the reason I bring this up is when you think of the culture of any particular organization, and one of the things that the Trump administration told the Mexican government is, we know that your government is entangled with the cartels. Mm-hmm. And the Mexican government's furious at that. And that's why we said, look, the 10,000 troops, and you saw a ton of conservatives going, 10,000 Mexican troops, like that's going to stop anything? I mean,
right.
that's a meaningless gesture. Mm. And when you look at what Trump is actually worried about and what the administration's worried about, it's the fact that the cartel has a significant influence over the Mexican government. And so when you have that, when you read another article the other day that said, well, Mexico fought the cartels and Mexico actually lost. The cartels still have a tremendous power. Now, if that happened in the United States, do you remember a couple of years ago when in Texas that sheriff was killed and they thought it might be the cartels? Mm-hmm. And you and I went, holy hell is going to break loose here.
Well, right here in the Metroplex, they carried out an assassination of an associate.
I remember that.
And it was in broad daylight.
Yep.
In a shopping center. And those things scare the daylights out of you. Growing up in Del Rio, you were aware of threats, but where the cartels are now, decades later, and what the footprint that they have inside the U.S. is pretty scary.
But they've really stayed away from targeting any type of law enforcement.
Well,
because that sheriff was not a cartel.
Right, not associated with cartel.
But when you see here, posts are urging assassins to target border personnel. You think that because of the culture of the fact that the Cartel members for years have been able to manipulate and control and intimidate the Mexican government, and they've now been through the Biden administration for 4 years. Could they actually believe that this is a time to test Trump because they believe that the United States is weak? I think it would be a mistake. I'm just asking, do you think that a culture, due to the fact that a lot of these people don't last long, and so new people keep coming in, as we all know, to fill the leadership ranks, do you think they actually believe that the United States, because of what's happened, and I mean because of what's happened in their power in Mexico, and then having the Biden administration where they could run anything, that they're really ticked off because this is interfering with their business, where they actually would attack because they believe the United States is still weak even under Trump, and they would attack Border Patrol agents? Because all I know is if I'm president of the United States, that happens, I don't know what I would do, but it would be major.
Yeah.
It'd be major at that point. I mean, that's when the United States would have to say, almost like we did with Colombia. Remember when the U.S. military went in with Colombia?
Oh, yeah.
You would demand, our U.S. military is going in. Your cartels are targeting our border. And you and I have talked about, how do you get rid, because you're not going to get rid of the fentanyl as long as the cartels exist. You're not. You could build a wall from one sea to the next sea. The cartels are going to get it in. They're going to get it in.
Well, and that's the thing, is that Escobar in Colombia became especially violent. He became a terrorist. There was violence going on, but I mean, he just catapulted it. And at some point, you've got to draw that line. It's if you look at, this threat against agents, again, you and I just pointed out a number of threats from the cartels here in the States. But if they start targeting agents and ramp up that violence, there's no way Trump doesn't retaliate, but you have to do it with coordination of the Mexican government. There's no way you can't.
Well, exactly, you'd have to do it. But again, at that point, if they're attacking and killing Border Patrol agents, well, it's not. You're not talking tariffs anymore,
right?
But I think about, remember Griselda Blanco in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the firefights that were going on.
Oh, yeah.
That's how the United States military got into Colombia at that point.
Yeah,
they were having firefights.
Yeah,
in the middle of streets and killing innocent people.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a slaughter on Miami streets.
Right.
Have you ever seen, what is the, there's a documentary on it. I can't think of the name of the documentary.
I've seen a handful over the years, but it's scary to think about.
I can't think of it's a great documentary about and you see what happened in Miami. And they look at Miami, like the downtown of Miami, they go, the majority of that was built by drug money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
they had a laundrette. So they went into massive construction. That's what actually built Miami in the 80s.
Look, the founders of these cartels, many of them former special military in Mexico, former law enforcement in some cases. But you look at like the Jalisco New Generation cartel. When El Chapo was arrested and basically, the fall of El Chapo, and he no longer had that kind of power. During his reign, during his time, I would say, there was this unsaid rule. You don't target civilians at all. And then with the human smuggling on the increase, the Jalisco New Generation is over the top violent, and they seemingly don't care. They don't have, those same rules don't apply. That's chaos that becomes far less predictable. And, the word is that if you're at a high level of government and you're on the take in Mexico, you're getting a paycheck from the cartel, you were given two choices. Take the paycheck and work for us, or die. We'll take you out. So it's hard to know who's what. You really cannot trust anybody in the government, anybody in police enforcement and law enforcement there. You can't. There are some people that don't want that to be the case, but they have no power over the cartels. They have no leverage whatsoever in that case. So I don't know. The Mexican government is powerless against the cartels, the collective group of cartels. There's no way. Cartels are better funded. I mean, they are better equipped and in some cases better trained. And it's all they do. All they do is violence. So if you're a threat, they eliminate you, full stop. In dealing with the U.S., you cross that line. To me, that's a death wish.
Well, if you look at, for example, the Venezuelan gangs and the hotel and everything else, and the cartels, they see all this stuff. I mean, they're inside the United States.
Yeah, no,
so,
some of them, in fact, some of the operatives have been living here for years and years.
Right.
There's a young comedian from right down the road here in East Dallas. He talks about his uncle and his dad actually worked for the cartels back in the day, had lots of money, the whole thing, but they wanted their kids to go legit and not work in that, and it's been going on for a long, long time.
When I first moved into my house, I've told the story before. I'll never forget, I come walking out of the house one day, and it's when I used to do my hockey skating, my hockey workouts, and open up the garage door, got my cup of coffee in my hand, my skates over my shoulder. I look, and I'm like, what the hell is this? There's DEA agents, FBI, the jackets on the back, carrying these massive weapons, and there's like 30 of them. Yeah. And some of them are walking right across my driveway, my front lawn, and you should have seen the look on my face. My mouth must have been open, and all of a sudden I look, and there comes this SUV down, and the window comes down. I can see it's two of my neighbors in there, and they're looking at me, and they're dying laughing. They can see the look on my face going, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
What? And they're a couple houses down. It was a cartel member.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that was like, it blew me away. And then after he was arrested and taken away that night, or about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm coming out of my driveway, and there's probably 20, 30. I don't know whether it was a show of an intimidation or whatever, but they're all standing right there on the front lawn of his house, all guys just standing there looking around. And I just said, well, I turned around. I just drove right by them and just looked at them and just kept going. And I was like, what the hell was that? And then, again, it was the guy was gone, and don't know whatever happened to him. And, that was going back probably 12, 13 years ago. And we were told, the local police department said, yeah, he was a member of the Mexican cartel.
Ralph Barboza is the comedian. Ralph Barboza, by the way, very funny comedian. But he talks about, he's been on a number of podcasts where he's actually talked openly about back in the day, his dad and his uncle were involved with the cartels, and they didn't want for their kids to be involved in it. And so, they wanted their kids to be legit and the whole thing. But he's been very open in talking about it. It's been going on for quite some time. But the line would be, again, in dealing with like civilians, or in this case, the new threat against agents directly from the cartels. If the cartels start targeting agents and they do any damage, injuries, or worse, there's no way you don't respond.
Well, you have to, don't you at that point, if you're killing, hypothetically, if you're killing Border Patrol agents and endangering their lives, officially, the word is out.
Right.
Americans, the DEI, the FBI, they'll know it.
Right, yeah.
They'll know whether it's okay. You have to go after the head of the snake at that point.
Yeah.
Because what you don't do, well, we need to have measured response.
Mm-hmm.
There is no measure. Okay, they killed 2 of our agents. We're going to kill 2 of their people. It's not how it's done. Now, when you're talking about cartels going after Americans, remember the one? Didn't the DEA remember they went in? They actually kidnapped somebody and brought him back for trial here.
Yeah. A moment ago, you said DEI instead of DEA. By the way,
Did I really?
Out of habit, yeah. Let's get the DEI involved. I'm an agent of the DEI.
I'm an agent of the DEI. Now, look, I know that you have some illicit drugs, but you happen to be the right gender today. So you get a free pass.
Listen, Mr. Cartel member, we don't see a lot of diversity in your organization.
Did I say DEI agent?
Instead of DEI. But because you're in the habit of saying
That's
DEI.
the best thing. That's one of the best mistakes I've ever made.
I know, it's funny. It's listen, we're reviewing your policy here at the Jalisco New Generation. Is that what it's called? Cartel. We don't see anything in the break room posted about diversity, equity, or inclusion. Could you help us with that? But it's, this is where, right now they might be testing Trump. I wouldn't want to do that because, quite frankly, how far are you willing to go to test him? No, I don't think you want to find out.
I wouldn't do that.
Mess around and find out is what we always say in Texas. Go ahead, mess around, find out. I don't think they really want that.
He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara, DEI agent. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Watching a game, football, that calls for audibles on the field, you as the Super Bowl party chef or planner may choose to call an audible of your own regarding food prep, takeout, or delivery of fare for the big game. USDA food safety expert Meredith Carruthers, what are some safety tips to consider regarding takeout or delivery? Say chicken wings, for instance.
Try and time it to where it's closer to when you're going to serve it, or have a plan for how you're going to keep them at a safe temperature until it's time to serve.
With the 2-hour rule in consideration, never leave food out at room temperature beyond 2 hours to avoid potential foodborne bacteria. So, for example,
my party isn't starting till 4 p.m., but it's easiest for me to get these wings delivered at noon. Are you going to put them in the refrigerator and then reheat them later, or putting them in an oven turned on low setting? It has to be above 140 degrees and keeping them warm throughout until you start to serve them.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Will CBS settle the lawsuit with Donald Trump? Fascinating.
That's a fascinating thing. You and I kind of touched on that. I don't know. Someone had reported that a week or so ago that they may be looking to settle that with him. About editing the whole Kamala.
The executive producer says, absolutely, I will not apologize.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, really interesting since that report came out. We'll talk about more of this coming up because I find it a fascinating lawsuit.
And the FCC commissioner incoming is going to look into that whole thing, too.
Yep.
Wow.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when and where you choose. Today.
Do it now.
Now. The executive producer of 60 Minutes remains defiant, and CBS News parent company mulls settling a lawsuit waged by President Donald Trump. Bill Owens, who has led the program since 2019, took a tough stance against Trump during a Monday staff meeting, according to the New York Times. There have been reports in the media about a settlement and or an apology. Owens reportedly said the company knows I will not apologize for anything that we have done. CBS is approaching a deadline set by the Federal Communications Chairperson, Brendan Carr, to hand over the transcript of the Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview at the center of the controversy. The edit is perfectly fine. Let's put that to bed so we can get on with our lives, Owens said regarding the transcript per the Times. CBS did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. In October, Trump filed a $10 billion lawsuit against CBS, alleging, go big, alleging
why not?
Election interference over the handling of the 60 Minutes interview with the vice president at the time, accusing the network of aiding his Democratic rival through deceptive editing just days before an election. The lawsuit stems from an exchange Harris had with 60 Minutes correspondent Bill Whitaker. In the preview of that clip that aired on Face the Nation, in the preview clip, Harris was asked why it seemed like the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't listening to the United States. We'll play the two, okay? I've got it here. Okay, here's the first answer that was in basically the promotional mention, a preview of it.
All right.
And then the actual answer on 60 Minutes. The first one was the preview. Here we go.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
So, when the preview played, you and I know about it because we covered it. It was like, what the hell, another word salad.
Yeah.
So we already knew about it from the preview because there was commentary on the preview of it, which is, of course, her typical word salad, and then a much more concise answer in the actual 60 Minutes program.
Right.
Now, here's my point. Election interference lawsuit, what does that mean? What is the law behind that? He's claiming election interference. Has there been a massive lawsuit on election interference because of playing a particular clip? Because you and I,
or in this case, manipulating the facts by omission?
Is where they, because I don't know what Brendan Carr is going to do. I mean, if he can see it, obviously they changed the answer to make it look better for her.
Yeah.
Right?
In fact, the short version sounds like she's almost answering another question, or it was a really bad edit. It was like she was halfway through a sentence. You could tell the cadence was different, and it was like, yeah, that was an edit.
Because
there's no doubt.
Any of us could be accused of playing edited audio cuts.
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's that one audio cut is different from the other, right? I mean, that would be the election interference. This was her actual answer. Here was the edited answer to make her seem. But what is the law saying that you can't do that in the media? That's what I don't know.
Well, and 60 Minutes has said from the beginning. No, the edit was because of time. The show's only so long. And so
and the preview's longer.
Yeah, the preview was long because the preview was on Face the Nation, I think, on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And, here's some of what you'll see. Actually, here's everything you won't see.
Won't see.
And so that's the question. If they had played the exact same cut on the preview, and then it aired that exact same way, but then later was found out that the answer was much longer, oh, well, that's just editing for time. Why was it changed from one to the other?
Here it is. Here's what they say. To paper over Kamala's word salad weakness, CBS used its national platform on 60 Minutes to cross the line from the exercise of judgment in reporting to deceitful, deceptive manipulation of news, the lawsuit stated. Trump's attorneys argue the edits were done in an effort to attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the heated 2024 presidential election, which President Trump is leading, approaches its conclusion. CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public. Now, nothing they're saying there, I believe, is false. What is the law that is being broke? What is the civil law that is being broke? Is there a federal elections? Now, the FCC is looking at it, not the FEC. So that's what obviously, of course, they were distorting it. But if you and I play a particular audio cut the week before an election that made Trump look good, where 5 seconds before it, he sounded bad, could we be charged with something? Or is it the changing of it
from
one to the other?
Here's what I would ask. If it was a Trump interview and they edited it to be something, let's just say he was, I don't know, in a town and observing something going on in a town. We'll just pick Charlottesville. And they do an edit that makes it sound like he's saying something totally different and the opposite of the spirit of what he was saying, and they aired that. Would that be a stronger case than what we're talking about here?
Or is there actually no case? And the only reason Trump filed the $10 billion lawsuit
is to get them to settle or get the attention on it?
No.
What?
Get the discovery to see what's actually going on inside the newsroom.
And the only way they won't get discovery is if they settle.
The only way exactly. So if it moves that the CBS is afraid.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
And this is what it's all about, to bring out the fake news, and you win either way.
Now you got me wondering about the Facebook settlement.
Yeah.
Remember when I said the Twitter files? I would like to see the Facebook files.
Yes.
I mean, because Zuckerberg's talked about a couple of things. The FBI coming to him in the summer of 2020 on the laptop thing and everything else. But he didn't do the Facebook files. The Twitter files was unbelievable, but very thorough.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't do that. And I said, I'd love to see that. Were they afraid of discovery?
Is that what it's about? That obviously the bias is there, and Trump doesn't care whether he wins or not. He just wants to expose the media.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out what, and nobody, I haven't seen anywhere. I've read everything I could possibly read on this going, okay, but I know what the infraction is, election interference. Where's the law or the civil law that says you can cash in because of that?
Right.
And they must think they have a case because it's not being thrown out. It's not thrown out yet. And CBS is willing to, it looks as if, the reports of the story, that CBS is willing to settle. Well, if they can't get you on anything and there is no law broken and you assume this could be dismissed, why are you willing to settle now? Why not wait to right before discovery and then settle the case, unless you get to that point and you believe Trump wouldn't want to settle the case because his whole point is to show the fake news of CBS and 60 Minutes.
Yeah, and demonstrate the process.
Demonstrate the process of what you bring in producers.
Right.
Well, yeah, here's what's going on. Yeah, they told us to do this. Yeah, they told us. And you destroy the brand.
Internal documents, all of that.
Right. How much would they be willing, how much would CBS be willing to pay Trump not to get discovery?
I don't know. Would it be 25 million like Facebook? I don't know. Could it be 10 million?
Because remember, you would then have ABC.
Mm-hmm. They paid him 15.
Right. Facebook.
The settlement was 15.
And CBS.
Mm-hmm.
And you can promote all the time, hey, they settled with me because they knew they were guilty. And the American public looks at it and go, yeah, you changed the answer. You cannot look at that from 60 Minutes and not say you edited it because you knew she looked like, well, it was her typical, ridiculous word salad. And you had to fix it for the next day.
Well, here's the thing. By the way, the AP story on the ABC settlement of $15 million.
Yeah.
The settlement agreement describes ABC's presidential library payment as, quote, a charitable contribution with the money earmarked for a nonprofit organization that is being established in connection with the yet-to-be-built library. That's even worse for ABC. You made a charitable contribution to Trump? No. You should have had your lawyers say, don't categorize it as anything close to that.
You're right. I mean,
if he wants to use it for that,
did they think that was a good thing? Well, this way, we're not paying off a lawsuit. We're just making a donation to Trump's charity for Trump's charity, which is about him.
No, that's even worse. You can't do that. Wow. They also paid $1 million in legal fees.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll
be in the Trump library, and the fake news section of the Trump library will be dedicated to ABC.
Exactly.
No, that's right.
All the ABC footage of them lying about him.
No, but it's like the donor. This section has been
right.
The
exactly.
donor. ABC News.
ABC News.
Oh God.
Donor. A kind contribution by ABC News in honor of George Stephanopoulos. Just make it big. I'd have a big neon sign that said that just to do it. Wow. I may have to make a contribution to the
Trump library.
When it happens, is it Mr. Trump? I'll make the contribution if it's earmarked for this purpose. I want to make a big sign.
The fake news section of the Trump library. Oh, my God. That's
it's
fantastic.
Like 90% of the library.
And the other quarter will be his golf.
Yeah.
Golf videos.
Yeah. More fake news, fake news, fake news.
That's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh. That's great.
And if CBS wants to settle and he makes them donate to his library too.
Oh, my gosh. It just keeps getting worse.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so we can take a breather for the next 30 days then on tariffs?
Yeah, a breather. We'll see where it goes.
Take a breather.
Apparently, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is going to be involved in the talks over the next 30 days with Mexico. I don't know what happens there. We'll see what Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, does. She issued her statement. I saw her statement before. I saw the White House statement, but
yeah, both statements came out from Mexico and Canada first. Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes, what the talks are going to be, and what else they get accomplished. And if the tariffs will kick in a month.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.